Yo, what's up? Welcome inside the opening line. Corey and Benny. Hump Day, Wednesday, Fab Day. Got all of that stuff going down. What's good with you, Benny? What's up? How you living this morning?
Oh man, it's been a rough morning for me, Corey. My wife needed to use my computer for something over the weekend because she forgot hers at work. And whatever the hell she did has screwed up my entire operating system. So I had to do a completely hard reset of my entire computer this morning. And I still don't think that solved the problem. So everything's acting slow. I don't know what the hell is going on. My wife actually has a degree in computer. So I text her and she's like, oh, well, all you got to do is go reset this thing and go do that thing and put this. I was like, you got to be fucking kidding. I'm like, I know how to turn it on. I know how to get on the internet. I know how to set up and use the programs I have. I'm like, that's about it. I'm like, I don't need to deal with this shit on a Wednesday morning. So Hump Day has not started off well for me, Corey.
Hopefully we can get a good into it. Coming up for the next couple of minutes, talk about waiver wire, obviously, but I want to talk about some players, if we can drop or not. And also, Benny, I got an interesting trend. Did I bite my lip? I got an interesting trend that I've been not really following, but something that's come to my attention. I want to get your opinion on it when it comes to spreads and lines in a couple of the games this week. So let me start with the waiver wire. And let's start with Cam Newton, Benny. Reports now that this may be a Lisfranc injury. They're hoping to avoid surgery. Could be a while until we see Cam Newton. Is he cuttable?
1 QB leagues, yes.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
2 QB leagues, I'm probably still stashing him on my bench unless I hear that this is. See, here's the deal. There's two things with this, Corey. One is we got to figure out how long he's going to be out for, because that factors into the decision of whether or not you keep him in a 2 QB league. The other thing, though, is the production. Because the reason you draft Cam Newton is not because Cam Newton throws for 350 and 3 like Patrick Mahomes. It's because he throws for 250 and 2 and also gives you 50 or 60 yards on the ground. Chances for touchdowns on the ground, especially with his big frame when they get down close to the red zone. If he can't run, he's Joe Flacco. I mean, that sounds fucked up, but like production-wise, if he can't run, he's Joe Flacco, right? Like 250 and 2?
Yes, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I agree. I got him in the league. I'm sending him to the abyss today because it's healthy quarterbacks who will give me some numbers now. Peyton Barber. He's gotten more carries than Ronald Jones, but Jones is playing better. Mm-hmm. Tampa Bay, not really an ideal landing spot for running backs. We've seen that over the course of years. Had a chance to draft Dalvin Cook. They drafted O.J. Howard. And it's kind of just been the same shit year after year. Is Peyton Barber cuttable?
I'm trying to think of where he's not cuttable. Because to me in a 12-team league, he is cuttable. Like, you'd have to probably be in a 15-team league or a 12-team league with a deep bench. I mean, really, like, even with the bye weeks coming up, right? Do you really want to put Peyton Barber in your lineup any week? I mean, he's splitting. Really. Yeah, he's splitting with 2 other guys between Ronald Jones and Ogunbowale getting some of the passing down work. It's a pass-heavy offense. Like, there's just no upside there. I think his best-case scenario is like 50 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe that gets you through a bye week, but if you give me 3 weeks of buys where I had to use him, he probably does 50 yards and a touchdown once, and the other 2 games he might score 3 to 5 fantasy points. So I guess if you want to keep him in a deep bench in a 12-teamer or in a 15-teamer, but for the most part, I don't want him.
Yeah. Darwin Thompson was a massive disaster last week. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know what to do. It's like if it's not Damian Williams and Shea, I don't know what to do with it, Benny, the Chiefs' backfield.
I mean, I'm just going on what I saw last week. Yeah. And what I saw last week was that Darrell Williams and Shady McCoy split the carries, and Darwin Thompson did exactly what he did when it was Shady McCoy and Damian Williams. I'm going to get confused with these Williams. Damian Williams. So really, to me, it looks like you're just kind of substituting Darrell Williams for Damian Williams, maybe giving a little bit of that to McCoy, and Darwin Thompson is still the odd man out. So, I already put in bids yesterday for Darrell Williams, dropping the Darwin Thompson that I picked up last week basically for free. So I mean, I think that's the way you got to look at it. Like until, yeah, I know the beginning of the season, everybody thought it was going to be Darwin Williams, and that's why they got rid of Carlos Hyde and all that stuff. But you can only go off of what you see. And what we saw last week was, Darrell Williams getting the touches, and he actually played pretty well, Corey. I mean, he put up some decent numbers while he was out there.
Running back friendly system, if you can get in there and catch some passes and that wide open offense, you can do some work. That's what makes it such a hotbed for fantasy. This one is near and dear to my heart, Vinny, because we're not even a month into the season yet. And I hate to say I told you so, but I'm an I told you so guy. This is an I told you so business. Jared Cook, Bigfoot. He hasn't done shit, as usual.
You know what's funny, Corey, is he's going to blow up for a 2-touchdown week at some point. But
he'll be in nobody's lineup.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's going to pull the Taylor Gabriel from this week, right? Like, when nobody's playing him, he's going to go and have a 2-touchdown week. I wouldn't drop Cook if you have him as your second tight end, but I would not want him to be the sole tight end I have on my team. And I don't know if I put him on waivers either. Like he's probably better than the guy you're going to be. Like, again, if you're in a league where there's a Darren Waller out there or TJ Hawkinson, like if these guys hadn't been picked up yet, all right, fine. I understand you making a switch to Cook. But in most 12-team leagues, like I'm thinking of who's probably out there right now, like maybe like Jason Witten and guys like that. I'd still rather hold on to Cook before I went to like a Jason Witten or a Dawson Knox or something like that. So probably more of a guy I'd hold, but definitely not a guy that I'd be looking to start.
Malcolm Brown.
I mean, as a bench player, fine, he's there. I mean, I don't think you have to drop him, but I don't think you're going to get a lot of production out of him.
No, you don't see nothing coming.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to drop him because if Gurley gets hurt, then he could wind up being an absolute stud.
No doubt.
But at the same point in time, right now, he's not in your lineup.
Latavius Murray.
Listen, he's only getting about 25% of the work. It's not a Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara situation. Kamara's getting 70% of the snaps. So really, Murray is a backup who is a change of pace kind of guy.
Be worried about
hold on. I had the audio playing.
Yeah, like to me, Murray. To me, Murray's just kind of a backup kind of guy. So, I mean, I don't really have faith in him.
Like, if you're not like an Alvin Kamara owner, it's like, why is he on your roster?
Even if you are an Alvin Kamara owner, other than as a deep handcuff, I don't see why you would want him.
Here's an interesting name. Jarvis Landry.
Again, I keep him because he's better than the guys that are sitting out on the waiver wire, but he's not somebody that I think is – Jarvis Landry used to be an every week start, like wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, worst case in bad matchups. Right now, he's a borderline flex play.
Yep.
That's all he is.
Cutting him may be a stretch. He's not giving you any production. I learned this from Tommy G years ago. I found it very interesting. This is when Tommy G had some season-long teams. He made an interesting point about players, specifically Jarvis Landry falls right into the category. Mm-hmm. And around this time of year, too, you might as well cut these dudes, he said, because if you keep him on your roster, every week you're going to think this is the week to put him in the lineup. And every week he's going to let you down. So might as well just cut him and wash your hands of the situation altogether. Let that person be somebody else's headache. And I think Landry falls into that category.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talked about this in the preseason, right? You look back at number one wide receivers who had another number one wide receiver join their team, and it always works out the same way. One guy keeps getting the same number one wide receiver volume, and the other guy suffers a massive setback. We knew that it was going to be Odell Beckham, who was probably going to be the guy to keep his number one wide receiver volume.
No doubt.
Which meant that this was a Jarvis Landry setback season. And again, it's got nothing to do with talent. It just has to do with the fact that you only run so many plays. There's only so many balls to go around. When you go from being the guy who was getting the ball all the time to the guy who is a secondary option, your numbers are going to suffer. And that's what we're seeing with Jarvis Landry.
This one right here is not is also near and dear to my heart, but this is not really an I told you so moment. This is a I was wrong moment. And same theory as Jarvis Landry, and I think you know where I'm going, Benny. My boy, Geronimo Allison.
Yeah, again, Geronimo Allison right now, we took him thinking that they were going to run a lot of 3-wides this year. What they've actually been doing is running a lot more of 2 tight end sets this year, meaning that instead of Allison being out there in the slot, Allison's ass is on the bench. The right move was Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
100%.
Yeah, he's the guy who's clearly the number 2 wide receiver here. And obviously Devontae Adams is amazing. You know, he's a stud. He's somebody who should be in your lineup every week. Yeah, I mean, without one of them getting hurt, I don't think there's a lot to look forward to with Allison. But here's the other thing, too. Even if one of them does get hurt, Corey, we've seen Green Bay become more of a passing defensive team. This is, you know, right now you're not even getting 35 attempts out of Aaron Rodgers anymore. So even if he does wind up stepping in there, there's really not a lot of passes to go around.
I excuse me. I agree with you on that. We are right now seeing them hold through to the change in philosophy in that Packer offense, and those throws are becoming less and less.
Yep.
We talked about Jared Cook. Let me get to this last one right here, Benny. Had a brilliant week in week 1. Everybody ran to the waiver wire to get him. T.J. Hawkinson. He hasn't done sugar honey iced tea since. I think he's had 2 catches since that big week 1 performance. I think it's safe to drop him.
Who'd they play week 1?
The Arizona Cardinals.
And the Arizona Cardinals in 3 weeks, they gave up that game to him. They gave up 8 and 112 and a touchdown to Mark Andrews, and then they just gave up 75 yards and 2 touchdowns to Greg Olsen. So I don't want to say Hawkinson's not as good as we thought he was, but maybe it was just the matchup, because that matchup has been basically fantasy gold for everybody who stepped into it. So Hawkinson, probably more of a tight end 2 at this point. You know, again, we don't love the Detroit offense. It's not going to be a high-paced offense. It's got a lot of other pieces that are seeing the ball too. I would much rather have a Darren Waller than a TJ Hawkinson right now, because at least you know that he's going to get featured in his offense. Like I said, Hawkinson, it was one big game, and it happened to be the game where, you know, nobody who plays that position hasn't put up a big game yet.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think that's a clear, obvious way to look at how that action has worked out for the for Mr. Hawkinson early on in his career. Now, I told you some trends that I had seen, that I had found, or was looking at in my enhanced state as far as sports betting goes, and particularly with the NFL. Mm-hmm. And I was interested to get your take in it. So I want to start with week 1, the also important crooked number of 5.
Okay.
Tennessee was catching 5. They blew the Browns out. If you remember that same week, Minnesota and Atlanta it closed at 4, but it had hit 5 at points.
Okay.
Minnesota blew Atlanta out. Jacksonville and Kansas City that week had also hit a 5 at one point. Kansas City blew Jacksonville out. So that's in week number 1.
So wait, let me ask a question now, and I don't know if you know the answer to this. Did those go up to 5 or come down to 5?
They went up to 5.
All right, because I think that might have something to do with it, but go ahead.
So when you go and you look at week 2, the crooked number of 5 for Carolina and Tampa. Tampa wins. They don't blow them out, though. Dallas and Washington that hit 5 that week. Dallas blows them out. Also looking at that at week number 2, was that the only one? Yeah, those were the only ones. The Dallas one in week number 2. Well, the Jets and the Browns hit that 5, and the Browns blew the Jets out.
They did.
Yep, week 3. I'm sorry to tell you that, Benny. Week 3, the same week right here. We saw that Kansas City-Baltimore number hover around 5. That comes in as a close game. It hits at that 5 and pushes.
Right. That came down to 5.
Yes,
that started at 7. That's what I'm saying. I went in the other direction, but it actually worked out because the team who it moved towards still was the team that won.
Philadelphia and Detroit was lingered around that 5 throughout the course of the week. Philadelphia pushed back up. Well, no, did Philadelphia push back up? No. It's opened up at 7 and lingered around that 5, settled in the 4.5. Detroit gets a road victory. And then finally, the Tampa and the Giants closed at 5. Once again, you see a road victory in that scenario. So basically what I'm saying is, Benny, again, the 5 with New Orleans and Seattle. What do you see? A road victory. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So now, as we know that 5 is that crooked number, and starting to investigate that 5 and looking at it this week, Benny, I've seen some 5s on Carolina and Houston. Is it a road upset or a home team blowout?
What did it open at?
Did
it open at 3 and come up to 5, or did it open at 7 and go down to 5?
It opened up at 5. It opened up at 4, and it's going up to 5.
So that would be in Houston's favor.
Yes, the line moved it moved in Carolina's favor.
No, because Carolina was getting 4, now they're getting 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it moved in Houston's favor.
That's what I meant to say. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, that's because basically when the ones that you're talking about, the ones that you've gone through, and this is why I asked if it's going up to 5 or coming down from 7. Like the Browns ones went up to 5 from a lower number, and the Browns covered there. The Lions went down from 7 to 5, and the Lions won that game. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's almost like whichever team the line is moving in their favor to get to 5 is the one that seems to be coming away with the victory, which actually isn't that crazy if you think about it, because what are the 2 key numbers we always talk about in football?
7 and
it's basically 7 and 3. So when line makers come out with lines, it's not like they're thinking this team's going to win by exactly 4.75 points. What they're usually doing is saying, all right, this game is probably a field goal or this game is probably a touchdown. But if I make it a touchdown, more of the money's going to come in on this side or that side. So I have to make it 6.5 or 7.5. Or it's 3, but if I make it 3, everyone's going to bet on this side. So I have to make it 2.5 to try to even that out, or I have to make it 3.5 to give people the incentive to take the other team. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
So I think that the numbers kind of starting around 3 and 7 a lot of the times, when they're wrong and they have to start moving it up, 5 is the number that it gets to. Or when they're wrong and they have to start moving it down, you know what I'm saying? Like it goes through that 6.5 and that 6 pretty quick and gets to 5, just like it goes through that 3 and that 4 pretty quick, and it ends up at 5, which is like kind of a no man's land number. So I think that might have something to do with it. Is if you look at the direction that the number is moving to get to 5, because again, the ones that you were talking about, there were some where the favorite came down. The favorite came down from 7 to 5, and then they lost, like the Philly game.
Yeah.
And then there were other ones like the Browns where they went up to 5, and then they wound up covering. You know what I'm saying? So if you're looking at this game like this, Houston starting at -4 and going up to +5.5, that's a move in their favor.
Well, they'll be laying the 5.
That's what I'm saying. But they started laying 4.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
basically, everybody was coming in on that side, and that's why they had to move it up that way to make it 5.5. You know what I'm saying? Like they would have made it 3 if everybody was coming in on the Carolina side.
So
yeah,
I think that shift. I think if you want to look at this trend, I think that favors Houston in this matchup. But then again, you also got that road underdog. But like you said, that road underdog is normally coming in the other direction.
Yeah, like when the road underdogs have been covering, it's when they were 7, like the Ravens were 7 and came down to 5. The Lions were 7, came down to 5. Like that's what I'm saying is you want to look at the direction that the number is moving to 5. If it's moving to 5 from a higher number, then you want to be on the underdog. If it's moving to 5 from a lower number, that's when you want to be on the favorite.
Detroit is opened up at catching 4.5 at home versus Kansas City. Now that's pushed up to Detroit catching 6.5. The theory would tend to say then that's Kansas City's game.
Yes, because that's the direction that the money's moving. Although now we're off of 5 and we're on 6.5, so now we got to look at all the 6.5. We'd have to go back and look at all those.
Yeah, but what I think is with this game right here, I think this is going to settle in at that 5.
Okay.
That's what I think. I could be wrong. New England and Buffalo is one to watch. Buffalo opened up catching 6.5. It's pushed up to 7. I don't see a 5 coming here.
No, I don't see it happening here either. I actually bet New England already. I like New England -7. I mean, listen, you got a young quarterback going up against the Belichick team that seems to be putting up points at will, that actually has one of the better defenses I remember them having since they beat the Rams back in the day.
Now, Kansas City, Oakland, and Indianapolis haven't seen a 5. It opened up at 6. It pushed up to 7. What's interesting here, we like the Colts catching in week 1. We like the Colts catching in week 2. They laid a short number in week 3. And now they have a bigger number in week 4. So it's like at some point, the bottom's going to drop because they're not going to go 16-0 versus against the spread.
Mm.
Now, could they go 4-0 against the spread? They surely can. But they went from catching points in week 1 and 2, a short home favorite in week 3, and now a big home favorite in week 4. So now I'm kind of like, I understand it's Oakland, and you got Oakland on back-to-back road games, which is also tough, Benny. But now I'm looking at Indianapolis laying in 7, and I'm like, maybe this is a no bet right here.
Well, what it is one of your teaser bets. They're a 7-point favorite. They're a 7-point favorite at home. You can tease down to -1. I'm very confident in Indianapolis -1. They're one of the teams I've taken already on a bunch of my teasers.
I have I believe I parlayed the Colts and the Texans and got them at like +102.
Parlayed it? That's not bad.
Jacksonville and Miami, the Chargers and the Dolphins, that's not going to see a 5.
Might not see a 15. What is it at right now?
It's at 16.5 right now. That might see a 25.
Yeah.
Chargers are terrible, terrible, terrible early season team, and especially these early season trips to the East Coast. $10 on the money line, Benny?
Why not? What is it? What is it? How big is it? 700, 800?
The money line is 770.
Yeah, why not? $10 to $77. I mean, honestly, there are better ways to spend your $10.
Yeah.
But, you know.
A nickel bag of funk.
Yeah.
Or 2 nickel bags of funk, you know what I'm saying?
A nickel bag of 40 and a Dutch. You're good to go.
Now here's an interesting one. Tennessee and Atlanta. It opens up with Atlanta laying 4.5 at home.
Mm-hmm.
Now Atlanta's laying 4 at home. So the line is moving in Atlanta's favor.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It's big, sharp money on Tennessee. Is this?
Wait a second. The money's actually moving in Tennessee's favor. It went from 4.5 to 4.
It opened up at 4.5 and then went to 4. So yeah, money's moving in Tennessee's favor. This could be the road upset.
That's an interesting one. Well, every week, one of the podcasts I listen to on the VEASAN Network. I don't know, you know the VEASAN Network, right? Vegas Sports and Information Network.
Yeah, that's our buddy. And obviously, I think we talked about Rob Tuesday and what happened with the tragedy that happened with him.
Mm-hmm.
So our buddy Rob Tuesday runs that network.
Yeah. So one of the shows that I always watch, one of the things they do at the end when they talk about the lines, is they pick which favorite do you think is the most likely to lose this week, and basically everybody has picked this game, like pick Tennessee to be the underdog most likely to pull off a win this week.
Yeah. So there you go, right there. That Tennessee, that sticks out like a sore thumb.
Mm-hmm.
Giants in Washington, it opens up at 2. Now it's settling at 3. The Giants are laying the 3. Daniel Jones. This is a no bet for me, Benny, because it's going to take everything in my power not to pick Washington this week.
So I think the best way to play this game is the over-under.
Okay.
Because both of these defenses suck. And both of these offenses can put up some passing yards. I mean, again, one game sample size is all we have for Daniel Jones, but the guy was very good in the preseason too. So, I mean, I have faith that this kid's going to be able to keep putting up numbers. And yes, Case Keenum had a tough week last week, but Case Keenum is not going to be dealing with the Bears defense. This is the Giants defense that generates no pressure and basically hasn't been able to stop any wide receivers. Every number one wide receiver against the Giants so far this year, I think, has put up 100 yards and a touchdown. So this is another good week for them to kind of attack. What is the over-under on this? Is it 46, 47?
Hold on one second, Benny.
Watch it be like 51, and then I'm going to be like, are you kidding me? But, hey, last week, remember I was wavering on whether or not I wanted to take it at 48. They wound up putting up, 60 points between them last week. So the Giants' defense is that bad, and if the offense is going to be better under Daniel Jones, the over is still a good bet.
What would you play the total at, Benny?
if it was 47 and a half, I would definitely be over. If it's over 50, I'd probably still want the over. If it's under 50, I mean, I'd probably still want the over, but not for as much money.
It's 49.
Okay, so I mean, I still want the over, but if it was 40, if you told me it was 47, I probably would have been really high on it. 49, I still like it, but you know, it's a half bet. It's $100, not a $200.
No doubt. Now here is the most interesting one of the week, Benny. Arizona opens up 3-point dog at home.
Mm-hmm.
The money pours in on Seattle,
Mm-hmm.
pushes Arizona up to a 5-point dog at home. So now we got that number. We got Seattle laying 5 on the road. Is this the blowout or is this the Arizona victory?
According to the way the numbers have been moving and how it's worked out, this is the blowout.
This is the blowout.
Because it moved from 3 up to 5, so that favors them.
I don't think Arizona is a 0-4 to start the season team where they do have the tie. A lot of people are behind Arizona, but Seattle coming off a loss, I don't know, but it's interesting.
I think Seattle blows them out in this game.
Yeah, I can see that too.
And at least, again, if we're going by the trend that you're talking about and what you've seen so far, the trend would be to be heavy on the Seattle side because this is the Cleveland Browns, New York Jets.
Yes.
You know, I mean, again, now that happened, that line move probably had a lot to do with Sam Darnold too. But again, when we're talking line moves going from a key number to no man's land 5s, it usually works out for the team whose favor it's moving in. That would be the Seattle.
There you go right there. That's our betting tip of the week. When you see that 5, don't run from it because it can be some value in there, Benny.
Yeah, you just got to know where it started so you know which direction it's moving because that's the direction you want to be on the train.
No doubt. All right, big piece of chicken. I had it in my head, Benny, and I lost it. Darn it. What happened yesterday?
Not much. There was some baseball. That's about it.
Bryce Harper. For hitting that big home run in Washington, even though the Philadelphia Phillies are not going to the playoffs and the Nationals are. Shout out to Bryce Harper for that big home run and that stare down against his boy last night.
Yeah, so I'm going to give mine to some guy named Carson who works for Apple.
Nice.
Because he was the guy that I was on the phone with for about an hour this morning trying to figure out how to get my computer to reset so at least I could be here talking with you guys. And I probably have to call this guy back because the thing he told me to do in the background actually just finished as well. So shout out to Carson for saving my life this morning and the good people at Apple, you know.
What I will say is, what they're doing now with that job is, Benny, they're hiring college students to do that from home.
That's awesome. Dude, I think we work from home for the most part. I honestly think more people should. My wife has to leave an hour before she has to be in work every day to get there. It takes her an hour to get home. That's 2 hours of her day that she has to piss away. Plus, she spends an hour looking pretty in the morning before she goes to work. So that's 3 hours of her day that she does. I get to work in a T-shirt and basketball shorts from my house where, I just sit down and just start typing. And when I'm done, I just get up from the chair. So remote working is the shit if you can get your company to allow you to do it. You get more done, too.
To be out and about throughout the course of the day. You know what I'm saying? But I'm starting to get used to it now after 7 months. But I normally I get cabin fever. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
I need to do something. You know what I mean? But when you got to go in and travel and shit like that, you should be compensated for that. You know what I mean? Because that's BS.
Yeah. Well, here's the way I look at it is, there are entire days where I don't have conversations with anybody older than 10 because the only people I see are my kids. So I don't mind getting out every once in a while too. But again, like I said, you get a lot more done when you're working from home because it's basically like drop my kids off at 8:05. I'm back in my seat at 8:10 and I can start working right away. I don't have to go sit on a bus for an hour or fight traffic for an hour. And you ever see people who like sit in traffic all day, Corey? They're just salty.
Miserable.
Yeah, salty human beings.
They'll curse your ass out. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So there you go right there. All right, Benny, let's get ready to get up out of here. Open the line, Corey and Benny. We are out.